it's over. Just make. Oh, yeah.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Kenny Beef back. Got to make some changes here, actually. Great. You can tell we've been off of our game for a while here. My apologies. Here comes Fred. What's up, Fred?
What's up, brother? I mean, yeah, it's been a while, man. We've had some technical difficulties here to start, but it is what it is, man. We've been out for a while, so.
No doubt. I feel like there's so much going on. We'll never have enough time to address everything, but there's certainly things that I feel like are very important to address. And then, certainly with the inauguration day, I think it's going to be, we could certainly hit on some things that he's already, his pen already, the executive orders have came rolling out. So,
yeah, I've seen a couple of headlines. I didn't know they were actual factual headlines, though. Are they actually going through? Like, one was like, yeah, they were gonna X-nay on the oil line from whatever, the North Dakota, South Dakota oil line. He was gonna nix that.
So I didn't hear that. I know he basically signed off on ending the border wall.
Yeah.
He signed something that said that he's going to basically legalize 11 million illegal immigrants.
And $15 an hour minimum wage.
I did not see whether he was able to do that yet. I know the three main things that I saw was he rejoined the Paris Agreement.
Yeah.
Which is why oil stocks shot up, because it's just ironic. The more they try to control the flow of oil, the more it gets expensive. So, I think some of this stuff is just foolishness. He's upset. He's repealing the restriction on specific Middle East countries. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we so quickly ignore is that we've stayed largely away from terrorist attacks over the last 4 years. So, we quickly forget that Boston Strong happened under Obama. You never heard anything about it, really. We've pulled ourselves from a lot of these areas overseas, and our presence there is less, which is one of their concerns that they had said. So it's going to be interesting to see how that foils out. Obviously, we've reached 400,000 deaths. I kind of think some of the numbers is funny math for coronavirus. We can get into that on another show, but because until we know the numbers of flu, it makes it very difficult. And I don't know if you heard this.
Are you assuming flu is still around? Because I haven't heard anything about the flu.
Right. And look, this isn't to say that people aren't really dying. It's sad. But the truth is that out of everyone that have died, almost a third of them are people that are in older care homes. So you're talking about people that are literally on death's doorstep. And again, I don't want to spout conspiracies at this point. We'll maybe have a show for that, because at some point somebody's going to have to answer for this. And I think as Americans start being honest with themselves, this is not Trump's fault, because it's happening the same way around the world. So you can't blame the entire world on Trump.
And it's going to go on for the next foreseeable future. It's not just going to stop because Biden became president.
Right.
It's not.
And he did. Also the 100 days of wearing a mask, even though we've worn a mask.
I thought we were already wearing a mask for 100 days. Were we not?
Well, maybe. I don't know. Not here.
I thought we were all wearing a mask for 100 days anyway. I mean, I've been wearing a mask.
Most people have been wearing a mask, especially in states like Maryland. It has not helped one iota. Most people that understand how masks work realize that it doesn't work. That's not what they're for. They're not for mask wearing that way. Look how many people actually have N95 masks, and then how everybody else is wearing T-shirt sleeves and bandanas. Everyone's still got the vents on their masks. They've already said those don't work. I mean, it really is. People think that's helping. It's not helping. Clearly, it's not helping. It hasn't helped.
We're still dealing with it, aren't we?
It's the same people. Did you hear about that professional athlete that died? That's right. There hasn't been a professional athlete that died. Hear about that kid that died? That's right, because kids don't die from this either. So the reality is that unless you have serious medical conditions or you're old, this is a bad version of thinning the herd. And I believe that this is something that China did and may have been trying to do to their own people, but we'll get into that at a different point. That's just speculative, just because. But at some point, China is going to have to answer for this. I would assume.
You would hope so.
I would assume that our constituents in our nation are going to demand at some point that China pay for this in one way or the other. For the people that are logging in, first of all, thanks for checking us out. I see the numbers up to 6 already. If you guys get a chance, please like, share. We would love to have people in the comments section saying things and debating comments.
Please.
Yeah, because, it's going to take a while for us to get our viewership back up. But there's been so many people that I talk to on Facebook that whenever I say something, they shout out the side of their mouth. And it's all Googling www.agreewithme. And I'm going to shoot out some stupid stats.
It's amazing to me how many people are now correspondents and freaking political freaking professionals.
I tell you this, if people want to hate on Trump, they can. But the truth is, one of the things Trump did was bring politics to mainstream. I've been in this for a long time. I've been doing, studying politics since I was 12
now
years
people are paying attention. You're right. Now people are trying to pay attention.
Sure. But you got people that, let's talk about this Capitol thing. One of the things that bothers me the most is the hypocrisy. Immediately, you can go on my Facebook page. I said that, of course, I'm against the violence. You know what I said about the lady that jumped in the window and got shot? Don't jump in the window of the Capitol.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have empathy for her family, but I don't have, at the end of the day, just like I have it for these other people that are breaking the law and you get shot. Guess what? She's unarmed. Good thing she wasn't black. But again, even then, I don't think it would matter, because as much as we try to race pander in this country, politics is up here, race is down here. So if you're a black Republican, you're not black in the eyes of even our president, right? That's what he said. So, and I think that, to a certain extent, there's a lot in the culture that believe that. And so, it was amazing to me. They're like, oh, if it would have been, well, first of all, I've also heard, I don't know if you've heard this, but they're saying there's people out there calling it racism. Like, this was a racist march on DC. First of all, there wasn't a majority of black, but there was a substantial amount of black people.
I've heard they're talking about deprogramming the Trump supporters. Like, really?
Well, I also heard this. Get this. So if you're in the National Guard and you voted for Trump and you speak any allegiance to Trump,
you can't be in DC right now.
The detail.
Oh my God.
That is crazy to me. First of all, you've heard of reflection before. I've talked about this before with many other people. It's like people want to believe that, if you disagree with this person, you're going to go shoot up this building. You only believe that if you're somebody that would do that. Most people wouldn't do that. If you look at this riot, right? And yes, I'm going to call it a riot because there was about 10, 15 people that were causing trouble, if that. I've went through all the recordings. It's so funny. Somebody tried to send me one. You can't see anywhere where this guy, yes, there's about 4 guys acting a fool. One guy with a flag hitting over the top. They talk about, now let's, this is going to be tough for people. Okay. And this was terrible that there was a police officer that died. Okay.
Sure.
I believe they're going to get the guy. Okay. The Capitol, you're going to tell me they don't have cameras all over the Capitol? They know who killed this dude. Now, let's be clear on what happened. Supposedly, he got into it with some people that had a fire extinguisher. He gets hit in the head. He did not get bludgeoned to death. That's what they say. The truth is, the dude thought he was good. They asked him, do you want to get checked out? He was like, nah, I'm good. He went home, had a brain embolism, and died. So, yes, whoever hit him with that should fry in hell. We're going to be on the same side as that. If you go hit somebody with a fire extinguisher, you should go to jail. But the idea, the imagery of what they give you, if they say that somebody bludgeoned somebody to death, that means somebody's laying there and you're beating them and that person dies. Okay? At the end of the day, they're trying to overinflate. Now, look, one life does matter. No question about it. But the idea that they're trying to make it seem like, oh, well, 6 people. It's like, hold on. One dude had a heart attack in a parking lot. One had a stroke as he was walking to the stadium. One person, like I said, one actual death where the dude gets hit with the extinguisher. But again, I haven't seen any footage of that. Have you?
I have not.
No. And I just want to, there's so much footage. Why have they not said, hey, this is the guy that did it? It's not that hard to figure out. Okay.
And especially inside the Capitol, I'm sure there's freaking cameras everywhere.
1,000%. 1,000%. And 99% of Trump supporters are going to say, hey, if that dude hit that guy, put him in jail.
Put him in jail.
Put him in jail. 1,000%. Okay. And then let's talk about there was also a police officer that went home, committed suicide. They try to throw him into it. Like that guy went home and committed suicide.
Like he could have done that. He could have done that 30 days ago. Or
yeah,
30
and there was damn near. Have you seen the pictures? There's about 100,000 people there. Okay, and you look at the damage that was done. You look at the wall. I looked up the Washington Post and looked through the pictures. You know what you see? Do you see graffiti everywhere? Do you see stuff on fire? No, you don't. You see broken windows, which there is a video footage. They try to say none of these people were Antifa. This guy, his name's John Sullivan. Okay. John Sullivan is an anti-Trump guy. He's a media personality who does like live streams and stuff. He's part of the BLM movement. He dressed in Trump gear. Okay. He went in, he busted out a window. You can see it in the, so we're supposed to think and then he tried to come on CNN and say, nope, I'm just here to document and report. That's all I was here doing. And then he's like, if they're trying to get me, they'd already got me. Well, they got him now, and he's facing Fed time. And they're going to figure out who did the rest of the stuff. Now, they're probably not going to let us know. But like I said, it was a very small group of people that were actually doing horrible things. Now, we can debate, and I wish Fred was here because I would love to debate.
Oh, Glenn. He's coming. He's coming.
Fred, my bad.
Yeah. Hey, everybody in the audience, Glenn is coming. He's going to be about 5-10 more minutes.
So if you want to have a situation where, first of all, the Capitol is supposed to be our building. So, yes, there is a fine line between where that is your building and where, hey, you can't, like I said, when those people barricaded in that room and somebody jumps through the window, hey, man, you got shot. I guess you shouldn't have done that. That is not a good move.
When keeping it real goes wrong, man.
Exactly. But I saw a lot of times where even when they're pushing in the gate, people fell down, they're picking people up. There was so much of that, and yet it's ignored. You never once heard that these were activists. You never once heard that these were protesters. It was rioters. It was domestic terrorists. Like, here's the deal. You can play with the terminology. Okay, I have the definition of domestic terrorist here. And the truth is that there's a lot to the domestic terrorist. Where is my...
But here's the thing though, right? I thought we was in the time for like unity and healing and everybody's supposed to get back to being friends. And all I hear on these other news outlets is domestic terrorism, unprogrammed. These Trump supporters are freaking incredible, like the worst people in the world. Like, dude, all this rhetoric and you want us to be friends? That's not going to work.
Well, it also is just astounding to me that you have time after time. You had Nancy Pelosi. You had Maxine Waters saying, go to their house. Don't let them eat. Go disturb them. Go up in their face.
Right.
You had what's his name say
And
when they
that's
go low,
what
we
they're
kick
trying to
them.
impeach Trump for the second time is inciting
All
violence.
the same stuff. And when Scalise got shot at the softball field, right, by an extreme leftist, no one on either side blamed the rhetoric. They didn't blame it. They said, hey, this guy's wrong, blah, blah, blah. Like
he's acting out of his own accord.
Right. When the BLM rallies happen, where we've had multiple dozens and dozens of people killed, and you don't have to make up people dying like somebody's dying of a heart attack. You know, you had a guy smash a guy's head into the ground. I think he hit him with a brick, maybe.
Yeah, that one guy gets shot out in Seattle.
Who ran up on him and shot him twice in the chest. You had the police officer that got shot. The 2 deaths down in Texas. And it was just largely ignored. This is mainly peaceful protests.
Yeah, peaceful protest.
The Capitol. Right. The Capitol was mainly peaceful by a large portion.
Did anyone? Oh, the lady, Air Force person. She died, right?
The lady that jumped through the window and died.
Yeah.
And then the police officer with the fire. But she
That's
died
two.
because she jumped through a window. Like why am I counting her? She died she was on the Trump side and died. That's not who they're worried about. They're only counting her because they want the number to be higher. That's it. And it's like, if you point this out, they act like you're okay with it. I'm not. I'm also understanding that in the interviews with the people, most of those people are very upset. Just like I could say that the BLM people had a lot to be upset about when they go, hey, I believe, if I'm black and I believe that the police are unfairly pointing me out, I can understand how that can piss people off. If you feel like your vote was stolen, I can understand how that pisses people off. But it's not that somebody said it. It's that you believe that it's happening because of certain things you see. Like I told you, I live in Georgia. I'm watching the election night, and they tell me, and I think I even texted you at the time it happened, because I know I was texting a couple people. They shut it down saying there was a water pipe burst.
Right.
And now all of a sudden there's no water pipe burst. That's
there's
weird.
No evidence whatsoever of any burst anywhere.
Right. That was exactly why they stopped counting. So you're going to tell me they stopped counting? I mean, what am I supposed to think? I'm supposed to just trust you? I'm supposed to just trust you? And then all of a sudden they kick all the Republicans out. And then they have these people come back and they just say, oh, later on, they're like, well, we thought we were supposed to close, but then we decided we didn't need to.
And the crazy thing on top of it is for the last 4 years, we heard meddling in our elections. Russia's taken over. All this stuff about our elections are all vulnerable. And then now this year, no. We're 100% secure. There's no
Can't be. It couldn't possibly happen.
No.
Now it's the Republicans going, China did it. And it's like, you guys are just the same
story, just from a different party with a different freaking enemy.
Yep. And it's just so grimy. Like, I'm so fed up with both parties. I've been fed up with the right wing of I don't even want to call them the right wing, because everyone wants to think of it in terms of a straight line. It doesn't work like that. But because it's almost like a circle, because these people come all the way back around. Mitch McConnell, you've never heard me say anything positive about this dude in the whole time we've had this show. And I've never liked him. I haven't liked Mitt Romney in over, 5-6 years. And these people who, some will call rhinos or whatnot, it's just, dude, these guys, like, there's so much stuff that, mark my words, that Trump wanted to do in this that will come back later that Democrats will be pushing for. You want to talk about term limits? Like, where are the term limits? No one's going to go for that. No one's going to go for that, because these people have their arms so deep in the globalist ass that they don't even know what they're touching at this point. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous to me. And, like, how long are we going to go? First of all, Biden goes and he names let's just keep it 100. He named a transsexual to be an assistant to the, almost like the office, where she's not the director of health, but she's the assistant to the director of health. And it's like, why'd you do that? Because she's great at what she did? No, actually, in Pennsylvania, she actually did terrible. But yet, and I'll call her she, but the reality is that she didn't do a good job. And they're doing it. Why? Just because she's transsexual. That's it.
Yeah.
And I even talked to somebody that means a lot to me. This person is very close to me. And they literally told me they voted for Kamala because she's black. Like the amount of audacity that people have because they simply only want to look at race. Coming off MLK Day, Martin Luther King be rolling in his grave. That's not what he spoke about. It's just not.
And the crazy thing is, I saw a post that were like, "Oh, if you're a Trump supporter, you can't post anything about MLK." Like what? It doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's so ridiculous. At the end of the day, we should all be judged on our character, which is funny because if you pay attention, you'll notice in the last 20 years, what have they been telling us? Oh, if you to judge people on their character, you're being judgmental and you're blah, blah, blah. We should never judge them. No, I had to have this talk with my son the other day. I said, who's the best person you know? He said, this guy from church. I said, why? He said, because he does this, because he does this, because he does this. I said, exactly. Because what he does.
Right.
The same reason you're going to be called an a-hole is because if you're doing these things that are a-hole things, then you're an a-hole.
Yes.
Like,
right.
And it doesn't mean that we aren't all a-holes at some point. And there's no doubt that, the guy's wife who my son was talking about would probably disagree. Right. But the reality is that it does matter what we're trying to do. It does matter if you're trying to move forward. It does matter if you're trying to do the right thing. And there's certainly Democrats out there trying to do the right thing. It's just this idea that some people bought into. I'm sorry. This is not just capital racist America. It's just not. Like if you feel that way, and here's the irony, is that people are going to tell me you're white, so you don't get it. But I'm white. I would be the one that somebody would come and be racist towards, right? They would be like, hey, man, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, the amount of times I've heard that, and because of all my friends, I've definitely heard it more from non-white people. I mean, maybe because the way I carry myself, a person that's really a blatant racist, they're not really going to be in my circle. So, I mean, I don't really, there's some people that have some biases. I mean, I've seen it on both sides. I got guys that I know that are black that would not be okay with their sons or daughters dating white people. And I know people on the white side do the same thing. I don't care. So, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do about that. And we lied to people. I saw a post this morning, that said Abraham Lincoln gave money to slave owners and not slaves. Well, there's so much nuance to that statement. I understand how it can rub people the wrong way, but there's a lot of nuance there. There is. Like,
sure.
You first of all, you're trying to comb white people with the same brush that fought for freeing the slaves as you are with that were slave owners. That doesn't even make sense. And then you're making the assumption that there wasn't a huge hit there. Like, first of all, it'd be like if you took every business, you took away their working force and then said, okay, go ahead. Those companies would have all gone out of business. And I'm not saying that it's the right thing. I'm not sure what to do. I'm just saying there was a lot more nuance. It wasn't like they were like, hey, let me hook you up, bro. I mean, well, where did we go, Fred? Oh,
I mean,
I thought maybe Glennon was coming in.
I found our log. That's what I've been
logging.
Oh, man. Sorry.
Okay. But I just wish we could still have open conversation, and I feel like people want to shut
I think that's
stuff
where
down.
the problem stems from, though, Kenny. Is like we can't talk to one another no more. The phones have it's prohibited us from interacting with one another. Like, because here I can say whatever the hell I want to you, and you ain't gonna do shit to me. All right. If we're face to face, then I have to listen to you. Here, I can just say, nope, not going to listen to you. And I can turn you off.
Yep. And
I
you can
offend
type,
you.
and you can, and I believe people just try to copy and paste stuff, and half the stuff doesn't even make any sense. They don't know how to defend their point. They want to just argue on things that really have very little to do with anything. I mean, the reality is that, you know, when it comes to the election, like, I don't think it was legit. I don't. And somebody told me, well, how could you possibly think that? They said they've already said there's not, you know, there's no evidence of blah blah blah. I'm like, well, you know, when it comes to O.J. Simpson, did O.J. Simpson kill his wife? Most people believe that he did. Well, he got found not guilty. Well, yeah, because the standard in which, and the standard in which you have to prove it is very deep. You have to prove without any reasonable doubt, right? And then you have this situation where if you're going to overturn an election, you got to have a smoking gun. You got it. And so there was
a lot of coincidences. They had a lot of coincidences, but no one actually had any like video. Like, I saw a lot of shady shit going on, but I didn't see anybody say like, here's the 1,000 that are not valid votes.
Exactly.
Here's the watermark. They don't have it. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And to be honest, that is on Trump. Trump was the president. That's on the governors of those states. If you want to have a real, clean, clear election, it's going to be tough because you want to have it in such a way that people can't track your thing.
I mean, we as a nation have to understand moving forward, there are certain things that have to happen. Votes have to be in. Don't tell anybody the total amount of votes until a certain time, and everybody's got to give their total at that time. They shouldn't be tallied live, all right? Because at that point, if you shut it down, anybody can manipulate the count.
Yeah.
Voter ID. You got to have voter ID. Have to have it. Have to have it.
I totally agree. You got to have it. It's not that you can't get around that either. There's always going to be those exceptions, but we've got to come up with a system. We're way too advanced.
Right.
The fact that a dude, while in Congress, while, you know, arguing with them, he actually stood up and was like, hey, just let you know, I just hacked into it. And I can make it say whatever I want.
Right.
Like,
that should not be even close to fathomable in this day.
Yeah, there should be some way. Now, maybe, you know, I don't know exactly what all the answers are there, but something should happen because it's the same. And it's the same thing for the Democrats who felt like they were robbed out of the Trump election. Like,
sure.
If you're going to think that, then hey, let's address the system. Before, the reason they didn't do that was because they wanted to blame it on the Electoral College because they didn't really believe that he got any extra votes. Like they didn't think anybody changed votes. I have a hard time believing that the incumbent that got by far the most votes ever, that he did overwhelmingly in the areas where he would have had to do overwhelmingly well in. He smoked it. I mean, this is a situation where you had somebody that did everything what you would have planned to do, and somehow he does all those things, gets the most presidential votes ever for an incumbent by far, and then loses. And loses when all of a sudden you shut something down and then you come up with it. And I don't know if you noticed this, but before the election, they were even talking about that. Oh, it's going to start with Trump being ahead, but then it's going to come behind. And at first it made sense because you're like, oh, okay, because the ballots, the mail-in ballot's going to take longer. And then they're like, no, all the mail-in ballots are here. So you're like, okay, well, then let's see it. And then like, no, we're going to wait till tomorrow, and we're going to allow people to postmark things the next day.
Anybody that says, hey, look, it was legit, even though Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan all shut down for the night, and then all of a sudden the next day there were all these votes out of nowhere. Man, come on, man. If I tell you what, if there was $1 million on the line and you were getting all the votes, and all of a sudden you lost overnight, you would have raised a fucking ruckus.
For sure. And what's funny is one of the things that I looked at through the night was the bettor's odds, okay? Because the people that set lines, they're doing all the mathematics of it. They're doing the mathematics of it. They're going to be more accurate than Fox and CNN because those people who are setting the lines for this stuff and moving the lines are making sure.
I was watching it too.
And making sure. Right.
We checked it.
And so it's like all of a sudden you're an 800 to 1 and then you lose that state?
Yeah.
Like first of all, as a Democrat, I'd have dumped all my money in on that. I mean, that's crazy.
If you was in the Biden home team and you saw that, you're now a millionaire. Congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, 800 to 1. I mean, the odds went bananas. And then it wasn't like they went bananas. They were this. And then when it reopened and they dumped that 150,000 votes with no. And it's funny because they keep saying that was a misprint. But yet that's actually exactly how it went into the computer. So like I've never, they've said, oh, well, it was a mistake on the thing. But it's like, well, where are the other votes then?
And again, these are all anomalies. These are
correct.
These are all coincidences. But you know what I mean? You can
correct. And maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe everybody that wrote in for Democrats. Maybe.
Sure, maybe.
And that's the problem. That's where I think, Trump messed up with having these lawyers come on. And here's the bottom line is Trump wasn't a politician. So what he didn't realize was you either got to take your stand and be Donald Trump or then you're not needed anymore. Because the minute you start playing politics, which is what they did with starting to say, hey, we're going to do this with COVID. We're going to do this with COVID. We're going to get this with COVID. And it's like, as opposed to being like, hey, first we need to open this thing back up. And I don't care what anybody else says. And he had to do that because the certain politicians in Georgia, and I'll tell you this, I told some other people this, I did not vote in Georgia. And people get mad at me. Oh, you didn't go to the recount. We lost the Senate. I don't care about them two people. You know why? Because I haven't seen them two people do anything for me. And I know what most people don't know, which is that you don't just need a majority in the Senate most of the time. You need 2/3. So this whole idea that just because Democrats have the House and the Senate, that all of a sudden they can go past everything, that's not true. That's why he's doing all this stuff executive order now instead of going through Congress, because this stuff would not pass through Congress. So you can get around Congress by writing executive orders anyways. So if I don't know you as a politician and I don't hear you telling me the things I want to hear, I'm not voting for you anymore. I'm not down balloting nothing. Loeffler, that lady is a millionaire. She was a way over. What are you doing in Congress? What are you doing? You're trying to get more power because the money didn't fill up your power need.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. How are these people civil servants and they have hundreds of millions of dollars? What do you remember reading about servants?
They're not going to serve you.
No, they're serving each other.
Yeah.
It's all the same group of.
Yeah. It's a good old boy network, man.
It definitely is. So what else did you want to, it stinks obviously without Glenn here to have.
Glenn said he was coming. He maybe got caught up on something or something. I'm going to hit him up on the text real quick, see where he's at. But
I got you. I got something that I'll bring up.
Yeah, bring it up, man. I told you he's probably going to go potpourri here the first episode back. Right.
The Capitol, right? Does anybody even know when the last time the Capitol was bombed?
No.
Right. People don't.
No.
Right?
No.
1984, okay? And it was done by a group called the May 19th organization, which is predominantly women, okay?
Yeah, I wouldn't have known until I saw your post on Facebook a couple days ago.
There you go. And what happened? That lady right now helps fundraise for Black Lives Matter, the organization, not the movement. Okay. And so it's like, hold on a second. But
that doesn't raise a red flag.
This lady got pardoned. And then there was 2 bombs they found outside the Republican. First of all, they found a bomb outside the Republican thing. It seemed like it was disagreeing reports of whether they found anything at the Democrat. And And again, going back to John Sullivan, how many John Sullivans were in the crowd? We don't know. And what was he doing in there? Inciting stuff, yelling stuff. So how do we know the other group? Like, you think he went in there by himself? I disagree. I doubt it. Now, am I saying there's not any lunatic Trump supporters? Of course there are. Of course there are. There's lunatics in every group. But the amount of people in destruction and the amount of hypocrisy, back to the racist thing. They're like, oh, well, there was Confederate flags. Actually, there was one that I could find in all the pictures. One. It's the same dude, orange, like a dark orange vest, carrying a Confederate flag sign. One dude. Now, that's assuming that he's doing that because he's racist. Believe it or not, there are people that believe that's Southern heritage pride, whatever they want to say. Yes, we can look at the outside and go, hey, we think that's racist. But unless we know the dude, it's possible that he's not even racist. But one flag really was mostly American flags, American flags, American flags, Trump flags, don't tread on me flags, Marine Corps flags. You know, these are all the flags. One Confederate flag, and they have to get like 9 pictures of them walking through.
Yeah, that dude's the most popular guy in the whole freaking establishment.
And yeah, did you notice that when he's walking through, no one else is around him?
Yeah.
It was almost like they're like, hold on. Walk through, click. There's like nobody in the room when that dude's in the room.
Right.
It's not like he's in a room with everybody else. He's all spaced out. There's him walking with the flag blowing so you can see the whole flag. I mean, it was just, the optic of it was just questionable.
Right.
And then, you know, you have, now I will tell you this. There's another video where there's a girl and a dude, and they're bashing the window with this long-ass piece of, almost look like a tree, okay? Like a log. They're bashing from the outside. I had the video up earlier. I had the picture on my phone. I didn't put it in here, but maybe I'll put it in if people ask. But in that, the dude, Capitol Police officer, he's sitting there just like this. Just watching them do it. He's got his Capitol Police hat on thing, the sheriff thing. He's just sitting there watching. Then there's another one where the Capitol Police like waving guys, come on.
Oh, man.
And it's like, hold on. First of all, let's be clear on what these guys were doing. Okay, these guys were trying to disturb a day that they were putting in votes. Did anybody, like, maybe you'd have to interview them, but did you for 1 second think that they just weren't going to be able to get the votes in? And
you remember how we were like, nah, I'm never going to get played. We just got fucking played.
Yeah. Like, I didn't think for 1 second they were going to turn the election around.
No.
I haven't said since the day the election was over, I told everybody that asked, yeah, he lost. He lost. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. I wanted Trump to win, but as soon as the votes got tallied, you didn't see anything on my Facebook timeline talking about, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But you know what? I'm not going to sit here and be a sourpuss. Let's move on. If you want unity, let's do unity. But don't sit here and spit in my face every day. Let's impeach Trump a second time. Come on. Let the man ride on.
And that's just so funny because it's this idea that he incited it. It's like you could literally use any. So if anybody says anything negative about a place, then you could say they incited a riot. That's not what that means. Like, people are using this huge generalization of how this should have been done, and it's absolute nonsense. And CNN, you're going to tell me that I mean, again, we didn't have to go back that far. I think you might or might not have seen this picture, but it was like people are whining now. The DC was on fire in June, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Now, very rarely. And then they're going to pick out once or twice. What'd you say?
I said now all of a sudden we're inciting violence and it's extremism.
Yeah. And then they put all these troops there. Did anybody that you know, as a Trump supporter, I'm a Trump supporter, no one I knew was going to go do anything. but they had more troops there than they had pre-Civil War.
Yeah.
That's how many troops they had there.
Are you kidding me? Seattle could have used all those National Guardsmen.
Yep. And did you know DC has per capita most police and all? DC does not even need to call in the National Guard. They have more police officers per person than any other place in the whole country. So they had plenty enough people there. I mean, clearly they had 100 and something thousand Trump supporters in the front of the Capitol, and one Trump supporter got shot, and one police officer died. And it's unfortunate. It is extremely unfortunate. So I don't want anybody coming on here and tell me like I don't care. I do care. I feel bad for that guy's family. They asked his family, "What do you think?" They said, "Let's not make this political." What did Nancy Pelosi do? Use that in her speech. Like, that's so disingenuous.
Made it political like that.
Couldn't even wait to get off. But yet, I've heard it called on CNN's reporting. It was called an armed standoff. Armed standoff with who? Out of everybody that they arrested and searched there, they found 3 guns, none of which were used by Trump supporters. So, an armed standoff? Did you watch Waco, Texas? I did.
Like, they have a Netflix special in case you missed it.
What'd you say?
They have a Netflix special on exactly that. Yeah.
It's just terrible. You know what I found funny? Somehow, this is the Capitol, and yet they couldn't find the guys that placed the pipe bombs outside the Capitol. But I just watched, I think it's called Patriot Strong or something like that, about the Boston City. They found it like that. They used people's phones, found it like that.
It's just a matter of how much you want to find it. That's all.
Now, let me ask you something. How much do you think is reasonable to give for a reward for finding somebody? If you can find and lead to the arrest of this pipe bomber, what amount of money do you think they should probably get? This is someone who maybe put a pipe bomb at the Republican National Convention next to the Capitol.
I'd say at least 100,000, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah, to me, I'm thinking, well, how much would it cost you to do the investigative work to catch somebody do that? 2-3 million?
There you go.
Probably. They offered 50,000. They offered 50 grand for somebody. To me, and then you see the pictures of them. Ooh, it looked like Antifa. Well, same outfits. Oh, all the same gear. You know what I mean? And I even saw that in some of the Trump things. It was the same gear, the same get up. You want to go ahead and read Nikki's comment?
Sure enough. We'll post it up on the show real quick. Here we go. This is how it's going to play out. Biden's going to turn out to be a joke. Most of us already realize he is, and anyone that voted for him, I hope, doesn't say not one word. And if they do, I guarantee they will try and blame it on Trump, even though he is no longer the president. Shaking my head. I mean,
of course, to be fair, they do that on both sides. They always blame the prior person. The biggest thing that I'll say is that, first of all, he's going to be lame duck. I mean, there's no way this guy has I don't even know if he makes it.
I don't even know. He's probably not even the one making the presidential orders. It's probably Camilla smacking his ass telling him to do it.
Did you see that they tried to get Tucker kicked off the air saying he was racist? But Sotomayor mispronounced Kamala's name, or Kamala's name at the inauguration. Priceless. Just priceless. God. Oh, shit. Looky, I got hooky.
What's up?
Here he is.
G Jr. into his house, better late than never.
Right? What's going on, fellas?
What's happening, Cap?
Busy, man. It's been a beautiful start to the new year, 2021. Got a lot going on. We got my man Biden officially took office. How you guys been?
Man Biden. Back to terrorism and war, baby.
Better than Trump.
We'll
that's what we're hearing. That's what we're hearing.
Hey, like Kenny just said, we will see, right?
Right.
Well, actually, it's more like Nikki said. He's not going to do a good job, and it's going to be Trump's fault. Trump's fault. Trump did this, and it's Trump's fault. So we'll see how long Biden actually is the guy in charge.
It's the same story no matter who the candidates are, right? Like, Obama inherited Bush's economy. Trump inherited Obama's economy. Biden inherited Trump's problems. I mean, we've been listening to this for long enough. We need to.
Well, it's kind of funny. Well, it's kind of funny because that typically is the talking point when we're talking about the succeeding president, to the previous president. It's always the economy. That's always the main talking point. And I think the main difference here is the economy is not really the main talking point on certain sides. I think the main talking point is unity and bringing the country back together in a unified state, getting out of this sort of whole divisive rhetoric that we're in.
Who believes that? I said, who believes that though?
What do you mean? Like who believes what?
Like
I think Kenny's saying like, look,
everybody's actually coming together. Like,
that's the thing. That's the thing. I'll be honest with you. I don't think anybody is really coming together per se. But here's what I do know, and this is a fact. I do a lot of traveling. I'm very fortunate in my life. Trump has made America the laughing stock of the world. Other countries are looking at us and laughing at us. Like we are like a mockery. This is
not true.
I've talked to way too many people. Okay, so
anecdotal.
Maybe it could be anecdotal. I mean, the one person that I talk to here, the one person that I talk to there, and the one person that I talk to there could be anecdotal for sure. But
yeah.
I've talked to quite a few people.
Awards for every country in the Middle East.
Yep.
He's so
revered worldwide, and we don't get it because they don't produce the moose here. Most people that I've talked to know that closest to world peace we'd ever been is under Trump. Most people, he did stuff for homosexuals in Middle East countries that no one had ever done before. I mean, people that are in the know, yes, the uneducated out there, they think that it's so terrible. It's very liberal in places like Europe. So it depends where you're getting your information from. But most people, I mean, I talked to people out of the Dominican Republic. I've talked to people.
Me too. I talked to my old roommate in New York, who's a Dominican.
People from Hong Kong. People from
me too.
People from all of them.
Me too.
Have a great deal of respect.
Me too. So the whole.
We can just go off on what's been awarded, and just in the Middle East, he's gotten Nobel Peace Prizes. I mean, just the other day, I thought I saw something in Saudi Arabia where he won something. Well, let me try and find it real quick.
Well, again, like what you were just saying, Kenny, you've talked to people in all those places. So have I. I've talked to a lot of people. And just like you said, the people that I've talked to, it could be anecdotal. The same goes for you.
I assume so.
So it's kind of an open and shut case. I kind of find myself being a little bit speechless at this point. Like I really don't have much to say, to be honest with you, because a lot of things that people on the right or Trump supporters were saying have just been debunked at this point. I mean, everybody said that, like coronavirus is a Democratic hoax, and the minute that he loses the presidency, we weren't going to talk about it anymore.
No, I don't know who said that. Even on the number one talk. Even on the same show, I said that's not going to be the case. I said it's not.
You said it was going to be the case.
No, I said it was not.
My wife literally just watched it. You said it was going to be the case. No, I was the one that was like, look, everybody's acting like as soon as Biden takes office or because this was before the election. And so I actually said it.
And again,
if Biden wins the election, then, everybody's acting like people are just going to stop talking about coronavirus, like it's going to disappear. And you said it is.
No, I didn't. We'll go back. We'll go back because I even corrected myself. I remember because the discussion to me is once you take the power, you don't give it back. So at no point did I feel like they're going to forget about the coronavirus. I did hear some people push that narrative, and I countered back to it. I even did a whole show on it before the election on my channel that they're not going to be done with it. It's not going to end. Now, the truth
it's a virus.
Yeah,
once you have power over the people, why would you ever want to stop?
You're never going to. Now, the fact that it's really.
So do you still think it's a democratic hoax?
Yes.
I didn't say that.
I did. It is a.
No, you didn't say that, Fred. You didn't say. But Kenny did. Kenny said that.
I said that. Yes, I agree. It's a political hoax. Yes.
Cheers, by the way, gentlemen. I poured myself quite a big glass because
I'm gonna go get me a glass because I've already started.
It's been one of those days.
We don't even know and again, we can get into this more. 1/3 of the people killed are people in old folks' homes. This is something that, and again, I want to see us get to the bottom of this because this was something that was inflicted on us from another country. You've heard about the new strand that's come up within the past week, right? There's been a new strand, and so. And people can speculate. Nobody knows this, but I mean, Obama had a pandemic task force that was assembled, and it was together for 2 years. And just be honest. Take Obama out of it. If Trump had assembled the task force, and it would have been in place at the time Trump took office, do you think we would be in a better place? Do you think a pandemic task force would have helped us be in a much better place today? I mean, I have no idea. I don't think.
I mean, it's a speculative question, but
yeah, I would say I have no idea. I doubt it. I feel like we're at where we're going to be because the way that the pandemic was. I actually disagree with a lot that Trump did. So I think we should have stayed open. These masks are bullcrap. It still doesn't work. The numbers have gotten worse.
You've been wearing the mask for how long now? It's almost been a year.
It's kind of funny. I was my father had came over to my house, and then we ended up running to Home Depot. I had to get something for the house, and I didn't have my mask on me, right? And he had his, of course, and he was like, "You got to have a mask, they're required." And I was like, "Oh, well, if they kick me out, they'll kick me out." You know what I mean? Like, because they never do. So I'm walking through, and he was like, "Well, it's not my dad." My dad, he was like, who by the way is a Republican, like way further on the right than I am. My dad was like, "Well, it's to protect other people, not you." And I was like, "You really believe that political talking point?" And I was surprised because we've done an entire show on it. Any articles that you find prior to 2020, masks are to protect the wearer.
That's correct.
Doctors, nurses, when they go through medical school, all of the literature. My wife is in the medical field. It's all about protecting the person using the mask. Not until the pandemic occurred was it that certain people on the Republican side, but mainly people on the left side, were saying that it was used as a vehicle to make people feel guilty for not wearing it. Oh, well, you're not thinking of your neighbor, or you're not thinking of your fellow man. And it's really not that at all. Like, if you want to be safe, stay the fuck away from me. Keep your 6 feet. Stay back. Stay home.
We learned this lesson back in the 80s, man, with Howard Stern. If you don't like what I'm saying, turn the channel. You don't like what I'm doing, leave me alone.
If you feel like this mask is the difference between you and you killing somebody, and you go outside, you're a piece of shit.
Right.
Now, hey, look, I will tell you this. There's certain things. I mean, look, I think most people hope that things get better, but it just depends what you think is good and what you think is bad right now. I would like to see what Biden does. I mean, we'll see.
Me too.
We'll see.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Kenny, because let me tell you something, and I'll be 100% honest. Obviously, Trump didn't get my vote in 2016, but I was amongst the people that was optimistic. I was like, hey, we got somebody different. We got a non-politician in here. And we didn't know much. We weren't calling him a populist at the time that he was just elected. We didn't know much about him. We didn't really start calling him a populist till like 2017.
I don't know. I mean, what was he the whole time? I always thought of him as a populist. I never thought of him as a populist.
People were, but that was not but referring to him as a populist was not like a popular talking point until 2017.
I didn't think it was a talking point. What did they call him?
No, I mean, he was just a Republican candidate. He was just a Republican.
No,
he was a conservative. He was a conservative running candidate. He was not considered.
No.
Not from the beginning. No, he wasn't.
We got to be accurate. Who the hell called that guy a conservative? That guy has never been a conservative ever.
But that's what I'm saying. We didn't. America, society didn't know much about him, and he was just a Republican candidate.
No, but
once we actually started to see his tweets,
when he got hired, before when he first came down the escalator, he was a populist. That was his
I'm not saying he wasn't one. I'm just saying popular media was not referring to him as one. They really didn't catch fire as him being a populist until beginning 2017.
Republicans called him
a white nationalist. Was a nationalist was what people were calling him, and he actually had to kind of break down what the definition of that meant. Because nationalist has a very negative connotation to it, and he didn't mean it in that way. And and that's what people were referring to him, especially in the beginning. He didn't populist.
That's fair. That's fair.
So people weren't really calling him that until 2017.
Nationalist, not a conservative. I don't think nobody serious can
refer to him nobody that was in the know. I would say that, but he was referred to as a nationalist.
The conservatives did not like him. He was far more socially liberal than the conservatives were at that time.
Did either of you watch any of the inauguration today? I didn't, honestly.
I watched about 45 minutes of it while I was working, so I didn't really my mind wasn't focused. You know what I mean? Right.
So,
but not because I didn't want to. I'll be honest with you. And it's kind of funny because with Trump being out of office, it's going to make our jobs and just the job for journalists not as interesting. I mean, Trump was news. Trump gave us something to talk about every single day.
I said this earlier before you got on the show. Trump made politics mainstream. A lot of people now think they're political pundits, especially on Facebook, because they can copy and paste. All right.
So I cannot stand when people copy and paste crap. I don't like that. Formulate your own thoughts, your own ideas, and put it out there. And then they have the nerve at the end of the message to tell you to copy and paste. No.
Here's the other thing: is a lot of people
Crazy.
will literally take an article, and article is very it's hard. I don't even like placing articles because I'll place an article that actually disagrees with what I'm saying to point out how wrong the fucking article is. Yeah,
and we've done that on this show several times.
Yeah, just to kind of show people exactly what I'm talking about. I just wanted to pull this up real quick. We didn't get a chance to talk about it today, so it won't be a major thing. But
yeah, what time? I thought you guys hopped on at 9. What y'all hop on at 8:45 or something?
8:30. It's all good, man. We were just BSing before you got here. It's all good.
Okay.
So we told everybody you were coming.
Here you go. Nice. Right, this is a fact checker. Right? Did a convicted terrorist sit on the board of BLM's funding body? Now let's just go down to this, and it says mixture, right? Which means they can't tell whether it's true or false. Which, first of all, if something's a mixture,
that happens a lot, by the way, on these fact checker sites. That's the most popular answer.
But here's why it's bullshit. Okay, let's look at why it's undetermined. Because there's no universally agreed definition of terrorism. Man, cut. May 18th lit a fire in the Capitol building. Look, dude, you don't get to just make up that it's a matter of subjective determination whether or not possessing weapons and hundreds of pounds of explosives while your group tried to attempt to blow up the Capitol, lit a fire inside the Capitol.
Inside the building.
Yeah, you definitely were part of a terrorist attack. It just didn't work. That doesn't mean.
Well, one thing I'm very proud of, everything you just said, Kenny, I 100% agree with, and I'm very proud that us as Americans, we don't agree on much. Well, actually, we do. We do. We agree on more than what we thought.
We agree a lot.
We do. At the end of the day, we're men. We have families. We have kids. We have wives. We actually do agree on much. Let me take that back. But we disagree on quite a bit. And I'm glad it really, strengthens my faith in humanity that we at least agree on that what happened last week at the Capitol was a terrorist attack.
Hold on. We agree this was a terrorist attack?
A domestic terrorist attack. That's what you just said, right? What do you think?
There was no fires lit at the Capitol.
No, but four people died.
Hold on. Time out. Okay, so let's address those 4 people that died. Who died?
The Air Force pilot.
The lady that jumped into a window at the police and got shot. Typically speaking, I just want to be clear: when a terrorist attack happens, we count the terrorist as somebody that died.
So let me ask you something.
That's a fair question, right? So
what's that?
If a terrorist guy bombs a building and it kills 45 people and himself, we count himself as a victim, or he just killed himself?
No, he's not a victim. He's a coward.
He's not a victim. So the girl that jumped in the window is not a victim. She got shot because she's a fucking idiot, right?
Well, the Capitol building was being stormed by a group of idiots.
Well, no,
and a police officer.
Most of them followed. Go ahead.
See, this is the thing, and this is what I don't get. Where are all the back to blue people?
Whoa, when the people back to blue, 100%.
Where are all the back to blue people? No, I haven't heard shit.
What are you talking about? You haven't heard shit. You're not listening.
For an entire week. Trump didn't come out and say nothing for an entire week only after articles of impeachment were brought up.
Trump's not even the president anymore. Why are you talking about Trump?
No, I'm just.
Everyone isn't supportive of this guy.
You don't get to play that card. No, you don't get to play that card. Trump was the president when it happened. It happened on his watch. He was still the president, right?
Hold on.
Biden was inaugurated today.
So hold on. You're talking a lot to try to avoid the points. Let's stick to the point.
No, let's stick to the points.
You said
Trump doesn't get to avoid
nobody
that.
has came out. It
happened on his watch.
Officer.
What?
That's not true.
What? What's not true?
No one's came out talking in favor of the police officer? That's just false. That's not true.
Okay, so who
earlier in the show.
Certainly no Trump supporters came out and said back the blue. But when it was Black Lives Matter, it was back the blue. It was all of this stuff.
Trump supporters are still back the blue, Glenn. You're not one. I'm gonna let you know they're still back the blue.
Again, where have they been for the past week?
What are you talking about? They've talked about it. What do you want them to do?
Where?
They're not Democrats. They're not going to burn shit down.
No, I mean, like the one or two interviews with random citizens. I'm talking about like, where's the whole movement? Like police officers were beat with American flags.
We support.
Like, what are you talking about?
What do you want to march for the guy?
I mean,
hold on. Black Lives Matter killed 2. Did Back the Blue do a march for that? They didn't. So
and why not? I think it's mighty funny. It is. It's mighty funny.
Hold the same exact position. The same exact position. It's actually
I'm holding the same exact. So I think it's mighty funny that again, Trump was the president when it happened. Or do we agree on that?
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so domestic terrorists stormed the Capitol building, and Trump said nothing for an entire week.
What?
Do we agree on that?
That what?
That Trump said nothing for an entire week until after he didn't say anything.
Slow down, because what you're saying is
Trump didn't say nothing for an entire week.
What are you saying? He sat out for an entire week?
Trump said nothing.
He said something that day. What are you talking about?
He said nothing for an entire week.
He said it that day.
No, he didn't. He didn't come out for an entire week. Look, I got it right here, bro.
You got what right there? He did a speech that day. What are you talking about?
Okay. This is a little something. So I think it's funny that President Trump, he was impeached. All of a sudden, he wants to come out and say, if you're a Trump supporter or if you're a supporter of mine, you would not have done any violent act. And we don't condone violence and blah, blah, blah. When did he give that speech?
January 7th.
No, we're not talking about the same speech.
Oh, because he gave multiple speeches. But go ahead.
No, he didn't. He waited an entire week.
He actually said that before. He said
no. I'm not. And this is the difference. And this is the difference. Did he call any of those people thugs?
No.
What do you mean? Did he call them thugs?
Well, like when people were defacing statues and he called them thugs and was threatening to prosecute for 10 years, did he do that to any of these people that went on federal property and broke windows and spray painted and stole shit out of Congress people's office? Did he say any of that?
He said they weren't.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Fred. That's all. It's a total different. It's totally different. His reaction to what happened at the Capitol building versus the riots over a murder that was witnessed worldwide were totally different.
Hold on. Who was murdered?
Okay, so George Floyd was murdered, which sparked riots. Within those riots, statues began to be defaced,
for dozens
and anything that symbolized racism.
Are you talking about when dozens of people were killed?
Correct, and dozens of people were killed.
And they were called what? What were they called by Democrats? I just want to make sure we're because you're being real hypocritical right now. So
no, I'm really not being. I'm really
you
not
are.
being
You are. You're
not.
saying why are they not called thugs? But then you're ignoring your side, which
I'm not ignoring my side, because the difference is you had people storming the Capitol building because they were crybabies and they were mad about an
so
election.
Black people were crybabies for Black
about an
Lives
election
Matter?
that was baseless.
About crybabies for Black Lives Matter?
No, see what you know. See what we're
you're
not
playing by
do,
different rules. I'm consistent. I'm going to say
what we're not going to do is be disingenuous. We're not going to be disingenuous to the facts. That's what we're not going to do. We're not going to be disingenuous.
You're making up stuff, Glenn. You're being disingenuous.
Making up what?
You're being disingenuous. You just said that Trump didn't call them thugs, but your side did not. They called them a mostly peaceful protest with burning things in the background. Was this ever called a mostly peaceful protest, Glenn? Yes or no? Yes. So
you're playing
games with it.
I'm not playing. I'm not playing games. I'm not playing games because you don't get.
Did they call it peaceful protest? They either did it.
So let's get this right. So let's get this right. Rioting, protesting has been a part of humanity since the beginning. I mean, we can talk about the Boston. We can talk about the Boston. Bro, we can talk about the Boston Tea Party. We can talk about the American Revolution. We can talk about all of these different things where people revolted against oppression and tyranny. Right?
Disingenuous or ignorance. How many people died at the Boston Tea Party?
A lot.
How many people? How so? At the Boston Tea Party.
No. The Boston Tea Party. No, nobody died at the Boston Tea Party. But how many buildings were burned down?
To be right.
But how many buildings were burned down?
It's more important to be consistent.
More people have been talking about more people have been talking about property being ruined than lives lost. So how many buildings were burned down at the Boston Tea Party?
Not buildings, boats.
No, there were buildings as well as boats too, but yeah, more boats.
Notice how you've transferred the Black Lives Matter destruction and riots to the Boston.
No, because what you're failing to do, Kenny, because what you're failing to do, Kenny, is acknowledge the reason behind the riot, the reason behind the carnage. Because you have people storming the Capitol building because they were mad because Trump gaslit baseless claims that we stole the election.
No.
Baseless claims that the election was stolen.
It's not baseless. It's not.
It is baseless. It is baseless. None of his court proceedings.
There might not be proof.
It's all baseless. It's nonsense.
There's not.
I know. And O.J. Simpson didn't kill his wife. And I know he didn't because he got found not guilty. So O.J. Simpson didn't kill his wife. Like the games that you're playing here are just so inconsistent, and I love it because it shows that side. Because
the games, I don't like what games are you talking about? We saw a black man murdered at the hands of a police officer on camera. 2 years. Three years after Colin Kaepernick protested that. I'm saying, and I think it's mighty funny that when Colin Kaepernick
happened to him.
Glenn, hold on. Wait, everybody has solved.
I think it's mighty funny that when Colin Kaepernick protested, nobody said anything about the NFL, which is a private entity banning his speech. Yet Trump supporters have everything in the world to say about him being banned from Twitter.
Correct, because Twitter is a communication company.
Hypocritical.
It's not hypocritical.
It is hypocritical. Twitter is a private entity, just like the NFL is a private entity.
One is not.
Twitter is a private entity, just like the NFL is a private entity.
See, the difference between you and me is, hold on, I'll keep it that way. So just be sure you're okay with that when liberals are getting kept out and when people don't get let in because of their ideology. As long as you're okay with that, Hey, man, I'll keep it free.
You also saw Twitter come out in defense of the Ugandan people.
Oh, I mean, it's because the amount of China money.
No.
Anybody that knows what's going on.
Twitter said,
look, just
need a free internet.
But before
I'd rather be consistent.
We can get into it, but let's set some ground rules. As a reminder, right? Just as a reminder, freedom of speech is the right to say whatever you want and not be penalized, imprisoned, or harassed by your government. Freedom of speech is not the right to force someone to publish your shit, to have an account or a company's website or whatever you want without repercussion in private business and society.
As soon as Twitter started,
that will work in your liberal groups, Ben, but you might want to study the communication law of 1985.
I have, and that's exactly where I got that from.
Okay, well, you didn't get that from there.
Look, you can say whatever you want to say. You can say whatever you want to say, but if a private entity owns the platform in which you're saying it, they have the right to shut you down. And also, you can say whatever you want to say, and if there is no private entity regulating or monitoring what you say, you still have to deal with repercussions from society for what you say.
Internet, that was before the internet, and it needs to be repealed and thought about all over again. Because
bullshit.
Now that we have the internet, because
when it comes to communication,
they're a publisher. They're gonna silence. They're gonna take our show off the internet eventually. Watch.
They're a publisher. So yes, they are a private company, and I agree with you. At this point, what they did was legal. I've never said they're illegal. I've never called for anybody to go attack Twitter headquarters. So, but it is the reason they keep ending up in Congress is because there is definitely a debate on the topic. This is not as clear cut as you're hoping that it is. And all I'm saying is that is a fine argument to have. To me, I'm okay with keeping the law the way that it is. But that is very, very close to being a communications company and being in violation of monopoly laws. There is no other Twitter. Facebook could have said it with MySpace, but Facebook is a monopoly as well. Now, you could argue
Facebook is for sure a monopoly. I'll give you that. Just like Google's a monopoly. YouTube is a monopoly.
Well, Google is not so much anymore because there are other companies that are competing with Google. Now,
there's been regulations that have been put in place as well within the past 3 years that kind of separate that. But I would argue that Google and YouTube in particular are media outlets. I would argue that.
I would say that Google is definitely a media outlet. It's the number one. I mean, it's where people get most of their stuff from. So right. Twitter's up there as well, which the thing that bothers me. Look. Again, you didn't see a single post of mine that bitched about that. I don't agree with it, but I don't have any posts out there that I've said, complaining about Twitter, because I do understand that we are dealing in a gray area now where I can understand we're both people, and I try to look at it both ways. If I was a Democrat, do I want them all of a sudden taking my viewpoint off? And there's so many. I mean, you have millions of people. The reason why they.
So I agree with that. I do. What you just said, I do agree with that. Where the gray lining is, or the nuance, as we always say, is when. And look, feelings matter, but feelings shouldn't be as important when it comes to something like this. But when the perception is that your speech has incited riots. Well, unjustly or baselessly, the only people. I think that's where the argument kind of flies.
Though, Glenn,
and this is one of the things we brought up, Glenn, before you got on today. Is that at the end of the day,
that's a good point, Fred. Fred, that's a good point, Fred.
Repeat it, Glenn.
He said, but who gets to decide that? Like, who's the almighty?
Right. I mean, Kathy Griffith can hold the president's head up, and she's still on Twitter. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like.
I mean, Madonna said, I often think about blowing up the White House. Johnny Depp said, how long's it been since an actor?
Again, and they suspended, and when those came out, they suspended those accounts. They didn't ban them, but they suspended them. But this is the thing. Trump has been suspended several times. He's been given several warnings.
Well, again, I watched when the lady that heads up the division, I believe it was for Twitter. I mean, I know Jack Dorsey's the end all be all.
The legal face.
The legal lady. Yeah. And she got caught about 4 different times and people can go check it out on the Rogan podcast. And Rogan is
she did. She did.
She got caught up on herself where she was being.
I saw it. Look,
Once you get banned from Twitter,
I don't think she was really prepared for what was coming. Once you get banned from
Twitter, what alternative do you have? Right. You don't. So that's
I mean, if you're a billionaire like Trump, you can create another Twitter.
I'm just saying,
you can create one.
Trump's different because he could go out and do a presidential freaking hey, I'm gonna have a.
He can show her. If Trump decided, even right now, as a non-president, to throw a rally or to do this or do that,
news channel was gonna put him live. I agree.
Hundreds of thousands of people would know about it.
When their stock went down 40%.
But for me and you,
here's the thing.
For me and you, Glenn, if I said some bullshit and they want
I know where you're going, Kenny. Go ahead, Fred.
So hold on. I'm going to actually agree because I was kind of saying this before. The reason why I do agree with free market on this is when Trump went off Twitter and their stock dropped 40%, then they were like, okay, we'll let it back on. You can't post right now, but you can still be up. And other people can post on it. The free market will kind of work that way out when you're that big.
Listen, and that is the beauty of capitalism. The market, us, we dictate how these things go. And the same thing happened with NASCAR. The same thing happened with what's the really left wing company that's based out of Seattle that almost went under. I don't agree with them, but they almost went under.
I got you.
Occupy.
Boeing?
Yeah.
Occupy. Yeah.
Occupy is just, and here's the thing. I know earlier you said about this, Glenn, but I'm sure, hold on a second. Remember his name. You know who John Sullivan is or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So John Sullivan got caught. He's getting federal charges. He is the guy who was a big Occupy guy, anti-Trumper.
Yep.
Are we going to assume he's the only? Now, look, I'm not saying that there weren't bad Trump people in the Capitol. I want to make sure I'm real clear on my feelings on the Capitol.
That's why I was hush because I was like, you about to railroad yourself, and I'm going to let you.
I'm not going to railroad myself because here's the deal: the Capitol is supposed to be owned by the people. That's the whole thing about the Constitution. I've told you from the beginning, I'm more of a constitutionalist.
We know that's the furthest thing from the truth. That's what it's supposed to be. I agree with you, but we know that that's the furthest thing from the truth.
But
the furthest thing. It is run by the elite.
Correct.
Period.
Absolutely. Now, so when you're coming in, right, I think, of course, there needs to be, and me and a business partner of mine that are on different sides of the aisle had this discussion, there needs to be some sort of allowance area where you can go in. It is your house. And so, but of course, there's got to be protections as well. And that's where that whole whatever line is, which is why I have I have empathy for her family, but I have really low empathy, just like I did for other people. I have empathy for their families. But if you're dumb and you jump at a police officer and he shoots you, this lady was unarmed. But you know what? She had a backpack on and she's jumping through the window somewhere she's not supposed to be.
And you know what? It's kind of crazy because we saw plenty of videos where, and this is all speculation, right? Well, what I was going to say was speculation, but we've seen plenty of video. Obviously, video is not speculation, where the police officers were being stormed by the mob and decided to not use their guns. And it was a very smart thing to do because, they would have got a few people, but they would have been overwhelmingly overrun.
Maybe. Now, again, I don't know. You're saying use the guns. There is they
didn't even draw them. They started to run and retreat.
Correct.
They started to run. And I just want to ask, I just want to pose the question because I'm sure you guys have heard of it. If it was a mob of BLM or black people, do you think that same thing would have happened? Do you think they would have retreated?
Absolutely.
Yeah? You don't think they would have fired? No?
No, hell no. And it's more. I feel like there would have been so much backlash.
See, Fred is kind of in the middle. I want to get Fred's take on this.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel yet, man. You guys debate, and I'll tell you how I feel in a few minutes.
Here's the thing. We don't know.
That is a middle of the road ass answer, bro.
Yeah.
Well, let me be clear.
Talk about playing it safe. Hey, you should give these politicians lessons, bro.
Yeah.
That was great.
There was certainly, we'll never, we don't know, but we do know areas where they literally, I think what they would have done was they would have just pulled all the police away. I mean, that's what they did to public Americans. So when Black Lives Matter came in, they didn't have they could have had those people in Seattle. They could have had those people around DC. What they do, they just pulled them back. I mean,
Kenny said it earlier. They had a dude
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'll give you that one.
Storming the Capitol with the tree trunk, and you know what? DCPD did? He just sat there
and watched. I mean, there was Capitol Police sitting there watching this dude ramming this tree into this window. Now, I looked up Washington Post and I looked through the pictures. I'm sorry, but I want to be fair about this. There's certain things I saw that are no good, right? Why the fuck are you hanging all over the building? I think that shit's stupid. Right. I think, hey, if you kick in a window, I've already said, you get shot. I'm trying to be straight across the board. I was okay with the fact
you're going to win dumb prizes.
I'm okay. Yep, I had that same saying that I had before.
We've had that. We talked about Rashad Brooks and
we talked about
the guy in the Wendy's parking lot. That's Rashard Brooks.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And then Jacob Blake.
Hold on. I gotta throw this out there about Jacob Blake because the fact checkers said that he didn't have a knife, and then he came on the TV and said he had a knife.
And said he had a knife with Michael Strahan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that too. So Kenny.
And on that, Glenn, was I dead on?
Very important. Hold on.
Was he trying to hide the knife? Was I right?
Right. But pause really quick because you listen. Kenny just proved a very good point. That I as kind of like the opposition or the other side, as we say, didn't want to bring up, right? But Kenny just said it. The fact checkers had it wrong. And so fact checking or the fact checkers are used more on the right side than on the left. And you know what? And for the most part, they're right. I'll give you that. I'm not going to sit here and
are like the NFL replay booth. They're going to get it right 76% of the time. Maybe
they had it very wrong, right? But I just wanted to throw that out there. So I'm glad that you pointed that out. That's good.
First of all, I'm glad the young man's alive. I really am. Again, I don't think he should have been shot as many times, and I don't know. That's such a hard conversation to have about. In his back, you don't know what he was reaching for. But I was right. If you go back on the show, that I said he had the knife before. Maybe he was trying to ditch it underneath,
stick it under the seat,
and he was. And then
he was trying to throw it and then stand up like, hey.
No, he said he was going to land the ground.
You heard it first.
Yeah, the interview with Michael Strahan, he admitted it. And Kenny, it's funny. I was watching it, me and my wife, and I said, man, Kenny literally called that. He literally predicted that. He said it was crazy. Literally exactly his thought process is what Kenny thought.
And we all thought that was one of the alternatives that he might have been doing, was trying to hide the weapon.
He just didn't get the chance to say, hey, they shot first. And look,
dad in the right mind. Dad in the right mind.
And this is the thing. In that particular situation, he and Fred, I'll give you that too. But yeah, in that particular situation, he had already tussled with the cops. Right. He had already been wrestling. He had already been physical with the police officers, and they didn't shoot. Now, obviously, 7 shots is excessive. I think we all agree with that. Shooting within 10 feet of his infant children is also, to be scrutinized.
To their defense, they might not have known the kids were in there. I'm sure they were screaming.
Here's the thing is,
they knew they were loud.
They knew. My only devil's advocacy in favor of the police officer is that what he didn't know was that in the prior incident, he had a gun underneath the seat, which is a prior charge that he had. And those guys knew Jacob Blake. So they knew that. And so that's what's so sad about the whole thing. I get where he's coming from. I'm not saying he's right, but he's wrestling with this dude. He had a knife. He's like, shit, I got to get him this knife. I'm going to throw it up underneath the seat, and then I'm going to bail down. They're seeing him and going, he had a knife. He's going underneath the seat of his car. He pulls and turns around with a gun. I'm done. So it's, it's a shit show. I'm glad he's alive. But but I don't have a whole lot. My point is that for the lady that jumped through the window, she gets shot. I feel like I'm being consistent. I think there are some Trump fans out there going, well, why? They're doing the same exact thing. And they argued the other side before. Now, I don't care which side you pick.
That window,
and guess what? I think people should be
window, you're going to take a shot.
And I'm not saying that this situation is the same exact as another. There's no two situations exactly the same. What I am saying is that I found it interesting that when they were pointing out the destruction in the Capitol, it's like, okay, outside of one idiot lady, and there's about two other guys that were like trying to shake into the door.
Oh, and
once they shot them, what happened? They had plenty of people. They could have barricaded through that thing.
I thought for the longest time that the rioters had shot this lady. I didn't know she was the dummy that jumped through the window. I thought she was
well, that's what they tried it. I'm sorry, but one of the things that frustrated me, and we were going to get to this, Glenn, is you said 4 people died. One of them, a dude went home and shot himself. One of them, a dude had a stroke in a parking lot. One of them had a heart attack.
Well, he had a stroke it was in the parking lot of the Capitol building, and medical experts believe that the stroke was induced from everything that was going on. So again,
but that was from the environment. I mean, this was a guy that was a pro-Trump guy that died.
Right.
It wasn't like this wasn't one of the police officers that died protecting the Capitol. That's all I'm saying. And the one guy that did die, yes, it's horrible. I've spoken out.
But so guys, so I feel like ultimately, in terms of what happened with the Capitol, we really don't disagree on much. The facts are the facts. We've talked about the facts. I didn't rebuttal you, Kenny, when you talked about the lady jumping out of the window, because that was certainly
my vote.
I don't want to say idiotic. I mean, look, guys, we got to remember that lady potentially could have family members that are watching this. You know what I mean?
Which is why I have empathy for them.
Like
I wish she did. Like,
family,
she should have known better. Like, that's stupid. Like,
yeah, and I don't want to say that's stupid. I mean, she was. It's a messed up situation. It's a messed up situation. She shouldn't have been there, to be honest with you. She shouldn't have been there. No. And we all can agree on that. Right? None of those people should have been there. What happened should not have happened.
At the end of the day, I do believe you should be able to march on the Capitol. I don't think you should push
march on the Capitol, not in the Capitol.
But I actually think that, well, as long as I think that there's some line there that I think is okay to
That is not a public building while Congress is in session. And Congress in session.
Okay, fair enough.
Right? So
fair enough. But
they endangered the lives. And look, as much as people would like to see Nancy Pelosi go and Chuck Schumer go. I don't think
they endangered the lives of, unfortunately, they endangered the lives of themselves.
Anybody killed.
Right.
But Nancy Pelosi has served long enough. It is time for her to go riding off into the sunset. Okay.
Well, how do you feel about Mitch?
Mitch should go too. Mitch should go.
Okay.
Anybody here supporting Mitch? First of all, we don't have any GOP rights on this show.
Romney, we got to keep it fair. We got to keep it fair.
Nancy Pelosi.
Dude, if you're over 65 and you serve more than 12 years consecutive, gone.
Yep, I felt the same way.
My whole thing is I've seen a lot of these politicians over the past 12 months violate the rules of order in terms of mask and social distancing. They've all violated on both sides, the Republican and Democrat. So I'm kind of over it. like they're human beings as well. They're not to be held at this high. This high, they should be held at this high standard, but they're not holding themselves.
What's your stance on term limits, Glenn? Are you with Trump on term limits?
Congressional pundits that are in Congress right now, they need to be in at least 12 years to see their bills through. I'll give them 12. All right. But after that,
you got to give them 16. You got to give them 16.
I would go.
You got to give them 16 at least. What you said is spot on, Fred. Well, right, Fred. What you said is spot on. 12 years. But if you're going to do that, then you got to at least give them 16 because they got to see it through, and then they got to be able to work out some of the kinks. You got to give them at least that.
Well, then let's also do this. If we're going to comb through Congress, let's no more amnesty. They have to follow the same Wall Street rules we do.
Same thing goes for cops. Same thing's got to go for cops.
I mean, you know,
cops have had amnesty. They've had.
Get out.
Well, their amnesty is taking a hit, but they need. I'm okay with them keeping,
which is great.
Partial, it should. But I would rather them get rid of the union and keep the impartial, the harder level of amnesty, where it's not complete, but it is. You know, personally, you can't be sued. You can be fired, and I think you should be able to go to jail.
Correct.
Otherwise, they shouldn't get amnesty from jail, but you should have amnesty from being sued for $100 million.
You shouldn't be, as a police officer, you shouldn't have to worry about your assets being seized or the courts coming after you personally or your family or your personal accounts. I agree with that for sure.
Right.
So basically, society should not be able to pierce the corporate veil for police officers.
Any law that we pass, Congress should have to submit to the same rules.
Hell yeah.
They should not be able to exclude themselves in a carve-out plan.
So if that was actually the rule of law, Kenny, over the past 4 years, like if that was enacted, a lot of people would be locked up or at least fired right now. A lot. On both the right and the left. And I'll admit, probably more so on the left for sure.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You don't need to
I won't even say that, because if you go back far enough, where do you think the Bushes?
Well, if you go back far enough, that's a different story. Yeah, the right has done it way more. The conservative has done it way more. So
we don't need to count, because the count was going to keep going up on either side. It's just we have to have something in place moving forward where everybody's accountable. And we don't need 80-year-olds in Congress right now, because I wasn't even born when they started their career.
How
they know what's best for me and my family when they started 4 years ahead of when I was born.
That's a fair argument. That's fair.
When Facebook and Twitter came to congressional hearings, they don't even know the technology.
They don't have accounts. They don't even have accounts. They don't know how it works. Like they're not on here, which is completely stupid, by the way. Because if we were to go off of old school ratings, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter quadruples the average viewer time of traditional news, traditional media.
Which is hard, Glenn, because that's that gray area. That was the whole point.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. My point is that's exactly why people, not myself, but many Trump guys were so pissed off, because exactly that. You're taking a third of the basic average person's media, and you're just taking me away from it. And then the other two are telling you exactly how I feel and think. And I'm like, where the hell can I go?
And again,
so then it goes back to journalism. Look, the news anchors and the media anchors have to do a better job of articulating the problems, the wants, the needs, and the arguments of everyday Americans.
If you're the president of the free world, you can get on camera anytime you want, dog.
Well, you think so?
I'm saying he can have a speech right in Oval Office any day that he wants.
Right, but you got to get somebody to put it on.
Sure.
Well, let's kind of shift the conversation. We're talking about media outlets and things like that. Let's talk about Parler.
Oh, shut down.
Back. It's back up.
Well, they're not shut down. Yeah,
they just don't let. You're locked out right now.
It's just very hard to download the app on your phone right now. Yeah. You're not getting it through Apple or the App Store rather, and you're not getting it through the Google Play Store.
It came back today, but it's just you couldn't upload your stuff.
Well, but they're trying to figure out a way to regulate or monitor or censor, censor would be the proper word. They're trying to figure out a way to censor the material that's on Parler, because this is a fact. This is a fact. A lot of the organizing of what happened at the Capitol building last week was done on Parler, or at least the initiating of it.
So just so people know, of everyone that's been arrested out of the 40 people, 0 people had an account on Parler. Just for our viewers to know that.
Well, right. But I mean, I could put up on the screen right now a dozen messages from Parler that have been screenshotted.
For sure. My point is not that people aren't on Parler, because the truth is, hold on. The truth is there's going to be people on platforms where you can say whatever, saying whatever. If any of you guys have been on these kind of black, whatever you want to call it,
like Black Planet or
these different kind of behind the shades things.
Right.
People write, and I mean, you ever played on your Xbox? The shit people say is absolutely ludicrous. Okay.
But the difference is. Well, hold on, because Kenny actually brought up something that we can't just gloss over that, because that you're right. You're right, Kenny. You're right. The difference is, in my opinion, this is not a fact. This is my opinion. The difference is, and I'm sure we're going to go back and forth on this. The difference is on something like a Black Planet, where people are talking about, I hate Trump, F Trump, I wish he would die, so and so forth. That's just somebody venting or ranting. When you're actually talking about organizing and doing actual destruction, like what happened with Parler, because there were actual plans that were set on Parler and carried out that are on camera. I think that's kind of where the gray area
but that's what I'm saying is that nobody that's a heck of a coincidence that something was organized on Parler, but everyone that was arrested, no one had a Parler account.
And that's the point, though.
Well, and also too, if you go on Parler, it's not Parler's not like Facebook. Like, it's very hard to deactivate your account on Facebook. So you can deactivate your account on Parler, no problem. Just like that.
But these people, when they went out there to go march on the Capitol, and I don't know what some of these people. Again, to be full disclosure, I'm not on Parler.
So you don't have a Parler account.
I don't. So. What I'm saying is
why are you lying? It's like, no,
I would have gotten one because my favorite dude's on Parler now.
Right. I'm surprised you don't have one, Kenny. I could see maybe Fred being kind of conflicted. Fred leans more toward the right, but he's still in the center. He leans more toward the right, but he's more on the center.
This is why I love this show, because me personally, I take it in from both sides and then make my own mind.
Right.
I find myself on the show, just to be blunt, I find myself typically debating both of you. Sometimes Fred will jump in and will have my side, but I know I lean a little to the left.
Sure.
To the left of Obama.
Because Kenny, we've talked about it.
Right.
Well, look, we've talked about it, and maybe we should record some of our behind the scenes or behind the studio conversations and sessions. But I agree. Like, I think there's huge problems. I don't even want to say on the left. I'm going to be really specific. Huge problems in the Black community, community specifically. I think there's huge issues. I think there's a lack of accountability for certain things. I think there are stereotypes that are out there that are justified, which is very sad and unfortunate, that need to be addressed within the Black community so that we can overcome these stereotypes that are out there that are rooted in truth. They actually are rooted in truth.
I think what you're saying is, like, look, listen. If we're going to
we're talking about an entire paradigm shift of the Black community. We're going to go to the next level. That's what we're talking about.
If we're going to go to the next level, there's got to be some on this side and this side that take responsibility to move forward.
Here's the thing.
Okay, I'll give you that, Fred. But also, like I'm saying, an entire paradigm shift needs to happen in the Black community. I think there needs to be an entire realization or an entire
what it is, though, it's
moment of honesty on the right or your average Trump supporter. There needs to be a moment of honesty. I've seen a lot of bigoted statements from people that I wouldn't consider bigots. I've seen a lot of bigoted statements. I mean, I've seen people that have allowed me to sleep on their couch come out and say things like, go back to Africa. You know what I mean? If you don't like it, go back to your motherland. Things like that. From people that are really not.
You know what that is? You know what that is,
Glenn? Here's the deal.
That's the counter argument.
And it's very confusing. It's fucked up.
Listen, the left will call you a racist and bigot, and the right will call you tell you to go back to your home country. It's the same argument from different views. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing. See, I think people that are not Trump supporters don't understand Trump supporters. So, to me, first of all,
the thing when we constantly see images of Trump supporters toting Confederate flags, wearing shirts like 60 million.
Go ahead, shoot that one now. Ready?
I got pictures. I got pictures of the storm that happened on the Capitol building.
How many flags? How many flags? How many Confederate flags?
I mean, I have pictures.
One. It's the same dude. It's the same dude. I looked at all the pictures. It's one dude in the brown orange jacket waving that flag.
Correct. That's at the Capitol building. But we've seen several over the past 4 years where Trump 2020 with a Confederate flag.
See it the same way. There's black people that wear the Confederate flag in the South. I've seen it.
That doesn't matter. You know, listen, let me tell you something.
The same people may or may not be true. All I'm saying is,
let me tell you something about that, Kenny. Let me tell you something about that, Kenny. Just like there are people on the right and people on the left that are ignorant. Ignorant, and I'm not saying ignorant as an insult. I'm saying ignorant as in a lack of education. If any black person totes a Confederate fucking flag, they are ignorant. That is a symbol of racism.
That is your entire opinion, though.
Listen, because they've been fooled by the hashtag or by the moniker of Southern pride. Or
Glenn, just so you know, the people. Let me tell you something, Glenn. The people that I've seen,
and if anybody that really supported the Confederacy was alive today, they would have that black person hanged, just as they did in the early 1900s and the late 1800s. So.
I'm not from the South. What I'm telling you, Glenn, is some of these guys are 85, 90 years old and have went through this shit. So to say they're ignorant, I think is ignorant.
Correct. And we've all seen movies like Django, for example, where you have the traditional house.
I don't think these are all bootlickers. I really don't. And again, I don't know. I'm not from the South. So I just sit back and I just observe.
My family's from the South. My family's from Little Hurtsboro, Alabama.
I'm not even saying that these
I was raised in Maryland, but my family is from Hurtsboro, Alabama. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. Two cops in the entire town, and they're my uncles.
I'm just saying
dirt
this
road
is the stuff that I've seen, and I just go, okay, I don't wear Confederate flags. And nor would anybody that I would hang out with.
General Lee.
And that's great to know.
You love me some General Lee.
Kenny, you're not ignorant. As much as we may disagree on things, you bring facts, and I bring facts.
What I'm saying is that
you're not an ignorant person, Fred. You're not ignorant.
But here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying about people misunderstanding.
Right. We know the difference.
Right. What I'm saying, though, is that when people see a Trump supporter, and this is a leftist ideologue thing that is just not true, is that
I know where you're going.
They Trump supporter and they go, that Trump supporter is A, B, C, D. For me,
and you're right, and that's not right, and that's not right. But it's difficult.
As soon as you put on a MAGA hat,
correct. And look, and it's not. And look, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with that. But we have to be. I don't think anybody's intending to be disingenuous here. I don't. I think we're actually getting onto a good conversation here. But we have to admit that for let's just say a person of color, it would be difficult to separate somebody wearing a MAGA hat from somebody that they would consider to be racist based on statements. There were not very good people on both sides.
You're saying as a black man, and I'm telling you that's as a liberal. Because there's lots of black guys in the middle who do not care if I wear a MAGA hat or not. They're not offended by it one bit.
Well, and I'm not offended by it. I'm not offended by it. What I'm saying is you know me, Glenn. What I'm saying is when you see a white dude that's got a MAGA hat,
certain things are coming to your mind because you don't know
Absolutely.
that person.
Yes.
And all
yes.
I'm
and
saying
the reason
is,
why, and I'm trying to articulate the
that,
reason why is
the
because
reason
of
why
statements
is
that
because
Trump has made.
No, it's not. It's not.
Like-
it's
like,
because
okay,
you are you are in the political.
For the importance of our viewers, hey, for the importance of our viewers, I didn't hear one word because you both were trying to talk. One go and then the other go.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, all I'm saying is that when you see one, because you are politically educated, and then you're educated, you are on a side. And so as you're politically, you see this stuff, and you would hear what Trump said. When the average Joe who isn't in politics sees that, if that person's middle of the road, because, I play basketball with a group of guys here, I'm the only white dude, right? And I got to tell this funny story real quick. So the other day, I keep tipping the ball, and there's a black team and a red team, and it kept going to the black team. So I'm like, gosh damn, there's black players everywhere. One of the dudes on my team was like, what'd you say? I'm like, no, the black team. The black team's players. The black players, like the green players.
Oh, good. Because right now, with a heightened level of racism, we're looking for it, bro. but we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. Right. We should be entering every situation in good faith.
That's where I'm going, because I actually think there's a lot of people
thought like you, unity would be really quick.
But I think, and I think that the more.
But we also have. I was raised differently. I mean, we've all been friends. I mean, Fred, Kenny, you guys have been in my life since I was probably 10 years old. My best friend was a white person. There was times where I would have been homeless and I was bailed out by a white guy. You know what I mean? Like
we've always said, we grew up in a great neighborhood, though, man. There was much color barrier when we were growing up at all. Like, I don't remember it at all.
Shout out to Curtis, who's my mentor right now.
Curtis Hance. Shout out Curtis Hance. Hey, my mentor too, man. I really actually enjoy his videos, and anybody that's watching this podcast right now, check out Curtis Hance, Hance. Curtis Hance. He's got great information. He is a life and fitness coach.
Yeah, he's
certified, and he's a master in his field.
Stuff too, right?
Yeah.
So he really has a plethora of knowledge for everybody. And I haven't personally hired him yet, but I am. I plan on it. I've talked to my wife about it, and
I actually am.
He really is great.
Questions about how it all goes. We're almost in week 2, and it's been great. So I'm excited about it. A lot more visualization stuff than I've ever done before. But my whole point in even bringing that up is that,
great.
At the end of the day, if you look at everybody through the spectrum of finding out who somebody is. Now, is there a part of the right wing that I would denounce? Of course. Like, there's a racist segment. I just don't believe it's as big as people think, because I'm on the side. So I'm like, where are they?
When you lump everybody in,
it's big enough. But I see what you're saying. But it's big enough.
Lump everybody into this one group, you're excluding like 90%.
And I'll tell you something that I'm actually really proud
That's fair, Fred.
Is that I will never. I told Fred before you got on, Glennon, I will not be voting down ballot again for the rest of my life. Just so you know, Glennon, I did not vote for Loeffler or for Purdue.
Really?
I did not. I bet you caught you off guard.
So right? You voted for Warlock and
I did not vote. I selectively did not vote. I chose to not vote because
no. Okay, so this is interesting. Interesting. Which is your right. You exercise your right to not vote, and that is your right. And I'm so sick of people.
I hate
telling people. I'm so sick of people telling people that if you exercise your right to not vote, that then you don't have a right to argue, or you don't have a right to have an opinion. That is garbage.
Totally disagree.
That is garbage. That is bull crap. You're an American citizen. You have a right to have an opinion. Period. It depends on not voting is your privilege. It depends
on why you didn't vote. If you didn't vote because you're an ass,
you're right.
If you didn't vote because you're an ass, then you have no sense.
I did not vote
because your political views, then argue all day long.
Right.
Absolutely.
I specifically did not vote because I did not like that. I felt that Purdue and Loeffler had taken advantage of the rules when it came to betting on pharmaceuticals. I don't like that. I've said that out loud. I didn't like that when Democrats did it. I don't like it when Republicans did it. And what's his name did it too. His buddies made money. Not Warnock, but the other dude.
You just said the name.
Not Warnock, the other one.
You just said the name.
Anyway,
I got the Democrats in my head. You got
no. It's the Democrat. Offit. So Offit.
Is it? I thought it was Ossoff.
And Loeffler were all in the same boat to me. And I
thought it was Ossoff.
Yes,
Ossoff.
You're right.
Right?
Ossoff. You're right.
Yeah.
Ossoff, Purdue, and Loeffler, all of them made massive amounts of money off of it. I disagreed with
the only one that didn't do it was the preacher.
Correct. But I think he has some, look, I mean, I think he's anti-Jewish, me personally.
Really?
Because he's a Farrakhan fan, a big-time Farrakhan fan. And Farrakhan's, I'm not saying he's all wrong.
Farrakhan is not an anti-Semite. He's not an
anti-Semite. I'm glad you said that because I'm not saying he's an anti-Semite.
Okay. I was not going to let that slide on this show with me on it. Farrakhan is not no way.
But he does point out the power of the Jewish people and the let me put this first out there. I hate that Republicans will always try to say this is anti-Semitic. And I understand where they're getting with that, but it's not.
It's not. It's the truth.
If I said all the Jews own the banks, right? They go, oh.
That is not a false statement.
Right.
I mean, they own the majority of them. They don't own all of them. But they own over 90% of them.
Correct. And
so that's a true statement.
When you point that stuff out,
there's 6 black-owned banks in our country. There's 6 black-owned banks in our country, and they're very small.
I would love to know
in comparison.
Irish German banks.
Is that small?
In comparison, hell yeah.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
But look, we
they're
brought
still
up
big,
2
but
hours.
in comparison, You're talking about one black bank having access to 5 to 10 million, whereas other traditional banks have access to 300, 400 billion. Yeah, absolutely. Very small.
Well,
very small.
I just wanted to bring up that, look, we did tonight as kind of a popcorn, whatever you want to call it.
There was a lot to talk about. We weren't organized.
We've been out since November.
Definitely, guys, we've got to commit to doing it because I really do. I've gotten messages. I'm sure you guys have.
Dude, I've seen our page get liked. We haven't even done a show.
Yeah, so I really like to let's build this back consistently. I'm actually going to make some cards because I'm talking to people and they're like, really? Like, I'd check it out. Like,
me too.
I want us to start challenging people
I think we need to start going like Twitter live from our Twitter account and like posting as we talk.
Well,
we can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that.
I'm the tech idiot here, so I'll let you guys figure that one out. I just know that the idea that you can have 2 people that can have a heated discussion, have certain things that you agree with, certain things you vehemently disagree with.
America needs that now, man. We need to show that
and they need to be able to see that, and other people, need to come on and have their ideas challenged because I can't even do it anymore on Facebook because. Yes, just like Glenn does. I like to go into the belly of the beast.
It just gets. I don't have enough time. I have 5 kids.
Me neither. And you go in there, and it's everybody that knows nothing that knows everything.
On my post,
and they're in an echo chamber. It's all the same echo chamber. I would love them to come on the show, battle it out with other people in this environment where we're going to let them talk.
Under the guise that, hey, look, listen, we can argue all day long. Doesn't mean I don't respect your views. I just want the other side. And then argue
or respect you as a person, right? Yeah. Because this is one thing. One thing that I've seen is, especially on social media, especially on Facebook, somebody will throw a post out there, you'll get, 100 comments. And, the debate is fine. But then,
the worst. He puts out like who had the COVID and who's going to take the vaccine. And then it starts off. You know what I mean? Not
right. Well, what I was,
and
even with the COVID, aside from the political stuff, even with the COVID, I've seen people actually get frustrated within the debate or within the conversation and then delete people. And that is so counterproductive.
You're not going to take the vaccine? Oh.
It is so counterproductive to do that. Why would you want to do that? I'll be honest with you. There's been people that I've had debates with. I'm just not about deleting people because I know people. Like, we can disagree, and I know people. I know people's hearts. We've been on the same football teams as youth. We've had the sleepovers. I know your mother. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
since 10 years old.
That's what I'm saying. And so with situations like that, when I see people beginning to delete people, there's been people that have threatened to delete me but didn't. But then later on, I'm talking like 18 months, 2 years later, I posted something that brought them along board, that they understood, that felt, and vice versa. Kenny has a lot of times changed my perspective on things. A lot. Even my wife. You know what I mean? Like, shout out. Like, if I would have deleted Kenny, because let's be honest, I've seen it. And
I went to high school with him, and I don't see eye to eye on a lot, but we debated out as gentlemen and talked to one another, and we respect one another's views.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's the beauty of this whole thing.
There was no desire for me to block Glenn. I had somebody else I won't bring up right now, but they had blocked me and then ended it and then tried to refriend me, and I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna accept it back. At the end of the day,
of course.
One of the things that I like to do is that people that know me are going to get a different perspective because I've been really deeply into the black culture. I've been very deeply into the white culture. I've been in poor. I've been in middle class. I've been in upper middle. I don't know if I'd ever get to the upper, but I've seen these different things, and I love people at the core. I know both of you guys also. We have families that we love. We're all very dedicated fathers. It's something that we all share in common, and we all, because we care about our kids, we want a better country. So none of us want a failure.
Right.
Like, I don't want Biden to fail. I don't want
right.
And I'm glad you said that, Kenny, because the point that I was trying to make 45 minutes ago was that we can go off of these tangents, but when Trump was elected in 2016, I was one of the people that was like, well, hey, I don't like him on the surface, but I'm really hoping that he can do a good job for the country. I wasn't like, oh, just screw him and I don't agree with him and this and that. I was really like, and I can't speak for all Americans, I'm not as stupid or naive to believe that all Americans had that same ideology. But I wanted him to win.
Going into all of it, Glenn. That's the view we should have going into all of it. Hey,
I wanted him to win. Right. I wanted Trump to win. I wanted him to do well. I wanted him to be able to have his glory moment where he could say, you know what? I increased the unemployment rate specifically for the black community, X, Y, and Z. I've done this. I've done that.
I'm glad you said that, Glenn, because look, now that Biden is the president, he was inaugurated today. Whether you believe that it was fair or not fair, it's happened.
And just to touch on that really quick, I don't agree with Biden shutting down the country for 6 weeks or for whatever the plan is. I don't agree with that. I have criticisms on that. I really like what he said in his speech today. I really like a few quotes that he said in his speech. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Character matters and integrity matters. We've all agreed on previous shows. Trump has told numerous lies. He's made mistakes, and we expected him as a human being, as just a basic human being, to make mistakes, but own up to them. Own up to.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Just so you know,
he didn't know.
I don't believe in the politics. Got to own up to mistakes because they never do. I'm just going to tell you like this.
Of course, you're right, but they should. Why not? Especially in a democracy.
Biden's not going to do it. Hillary's not. Nobody on either side's going to do it, unfortunately.
Whoa. But Biden's already done it. He talked about the crime bill. He admitted
that it was because he just got elected. He had some equity right now.
No. He talked about the crime bill a year ago. He talked about accountability a year ago.
He said he would do nothing different. And
unlike Mike Bloomberg with stop and frisk, that tried to dodge and deflect.
Hold on, we only have a minute left. So
black people
we can do other episodes on this. I don't buy it. What I hope is, because I actually do think Trump, the best 3 years of any president I've ever seen in my life. And so my hope, and this is where it's going to be hard to get people together, is undoing a bunch of his stuff that I just don't think, that's going to be productive, right? Stop building the wall, you're just going backwards on certain things, but we'll see.
Well, the wall was never built. There was only 5 miles of wall that's been built in this term. There's only been 5 miles of wall.
No, again, we'll have that discussion on another show. That's not true, but
that's up for debate.
I got all night. We can pull up facts.
Well, people aren't going to watch. We got to keep it coming, and we're going to get lost in the sauce. But I'm very grateful with Trump. I hope that Biden picks up what Trump has done for Black America and move it forward. Trump was the first guy to do it. We waited on it for a long time. I did. I want to see the low-income communities rise up. And so I'm glad that he did.
And I like how you phrase that, low-income communities. You didn't phrase it like it's a black thing or a white thing, because there's actually, if you look per capita at our country as a whole, Puerto Rico, Hawaii included, there's actually more poor white communities.
For sure,
which would make sense because there's more white people as a whole in this country. So there's way more trailer parks than there are ghettos.
Which again, I couldn't care less. I just want to see people have opportunities and be able to grow. And the one thing I know that we all agree on, the one person that did lose their job just based on the color of their skin was Jake from State Farm.
Jake.
So, that is the one guy that definitely lost his job solely for the color of their skin. And they didn't have enough respect to even change the commercial. They dubbed the other dude in. That is trifling.
Well, in a perfect society, guys, there would really be no lower class. There would be all of the minimum wage jobs and things like that would be worked by our kids as they were kids, as a stepping stone or a catalyst to something bigger. But like the only people that should be working fast food or at grocery stores, cashiers, should be 16-year-olds, 17, 18-year-olds, college kids.
Because freedom allows for people to be pieces of shit.
Yeah. And
so there's always going to be. Let me be clear, so I don't get killed by people.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying everybody on the lower spectrum is a piece of shit. I'm saying I'm saying you're allowed to be, and so when you have a free country, and we'll get into other stuff. But look, guys, I appreciate you guys. Freddie, do you have the
I have the outro. We're good.
You can control it now.
Yeah,
the outro. But so for me, I'll close off with just 20 seconds.
Hey man, I'm glad we're back. I'm just glad we did a show, man. And
Hey guys, and guys, just for the record, we will be back. We will be back on it. 3 days a week.
We'll figure out
coming with the hot topics, coming with the fire. Coming with the highly researched facts. And bringing that to the table and really debating it in depth, like nobody else does. We've
heard your voices. We know you want us back. We will be back,
and we appreciate it.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. Final thoughts.
Hey, real quick for me is just I appreciate people coming out. Please keep coming out, and hey, we got a new president, so that's what it is. I'm moving forward. I want to, hopefully we can get some of this election stuff worked out for the next election so people can be really confident in it. But at the end of the day, I love America. That's the country we're in. Our president is now President Biden. So moving forward, I'm going to try to hold him accountable to things he said when he was running. And hopefully we can continue the success we've had and we can get past this this virus. I think it's learning to deal with it is learning to live with it is more where we're at. But that's all I got. Thanks a lot, guys. Love you guys.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Hey, love to be back. I'm glad that we're back. I love my colleagues, all of our viewers. Thank you guys for watching, for listening, for sending all of your encouraging messages, all of your DMs. We're here, guys. We're back. So thank you guys. It's been a roller coaster of a new year. going into 2021. And at the end of the day, America voted for the stuttering boy over the bully. That's been a meme going around, and couldn't be more true. So we just appreciate you guys. And we will certainly be back with the hard-hitting facts and with the very triggering topics to discuss those and bring some light and an avenue for everybody to be able to voice their opinions. Hopefully your opinions will be rooted in fact as well, because that's what we strive for here at Contra-Dictions, also known as The Other Side. And, we just really appreciate all the love, all the support, and can't wait to get back on it on a consistent basis. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, like my colleague said, man, we're back. We're going to get back to the consistent schedule. We appreciate anybody that tuned in tonight. I know we didn't put a lot of time and effort into all the facts, but you know how we do. So we're going to come back and bring it next time we're on the show. Appreciate you guys. Hey, America first, right? Biden's the president. Let's heal, right? That's what we're supposed to do. So we'll see you on the next show. Much love.